Most anime these days are pretty bad. We do get a solid show here and there, but it's mainly the same shit in a different toilet. So I took the liberty of going back in time to find something to watch. And boy did I find something. This movie came out almost 40 years ago, and somehow it's still out here predicting riots, political collapse, and all of humanity's worst fears that our technological or scientific discoveries will eventually lead to our own demise. Which is concerning, and impressive, but mostly concerning. AKIRA isn't just a beautifully animated cyberpunk movie that was the first of its kind. It's a time capsule that keeps opening itself in the present day. So how did a hand-drawn anime from the 80s end up feeling like it knows a bit too much about our future? Hi again, I'm Shahir, and let's talk about AKIRA. Just so you know, I'm heavily summarizing this plot overview, but regardless, I had to watch this movie 6 times to make this as concise as possible. And now, I need therapy. But oh well, here we go. The movie opens in 1988 with Tokyo being erased by a mysterious explosion. No explanation, no warning, just boom. It's like the movie is giving you a chance to turn back, because once you watch it, you'll never be the same person. Trust me, I know. Fast forward 31 years and we're in Neo Tokyo, a city rebuilt so aggressively it feels like it's compensating for something. Neo Tokyo is loud, angry, and permanently one bad decision away from collapsing, which feels kinda familiar. Our main characters are Kaneda and Tetsuo, 2 biker kids who literally go to school for the sake of it, and their hobbies consist of them riding their motorcycles and beating up random gang members. Classic teenage stuff. Kaneda is loud and reckless and has the confidence of someone who's never faced consequences. Tetsuo, on the other hand, is quieter, insecure, and constantly reminded that he's the weakest one in the group. During a gang fight, Tetsuo crashes into a strange old man-child who looks like he escaped from a government nursing home, and somehow the kid's unscathed. This is where the movie gently introduces its main theme, and I want you to repeat after me. The government knows what it's doing. Trust them. Tetsuo is immediately kidnapped by the military, given psychic powers, and told absolutely nothing. Meanwhile, Kaneda is arrested, breaks out, and accidentally gets involved with an underground resistance movement. And this resistant group believes the government is hiding a secret weapon called AKIRA. As Tetsuo's powers grow, so does his resentment. And what AKIRA wants to portray is very clear. Power doesn't change Tetsuo. It gives his existing trauma a megaphone. He starts hallucinating, losing control, and lashing out at everyone around him. One thing I do have to mention, which is probably the best scene in the entire film for me, was while under observation in a hospital bed, Tetsuo starts hallucinating, being attacked by childhood toys. Dreams and reality are literally folded into each other, and it remains like this for the rest of the film. Horizons peel away and reality literally disintegrates on screen, fragment after animated fragment, as Tetsuo battles his way to downtown Neo Tokyo and prepares to face AKIRA, whatever that may mean. This was so confusing and terrifying to watch as the audience. Then you realize it's meant to feel this way because it allows you to empathize with Tetsuo and why he's acting this way. He's in a position that is literally nightmare fuel, and he has no idea why or how he's ended up like this. But all he knows is it's because he trusted the government, and in this city, that is the last thing you want to do. He even ends up lashing out at Kaneda, who genuinely cares about him. The adults, meanwhile, are doing what adults do best in this movie, arguing in rooms while everything falls apart around them. Literally everything. Because the military wants control, the politicians want power, and the scientists want data. But no one in this entire movie wants responsibility. And I can low-key empathize with that. Eventually though, Tetsuo learns about AKIRA. He was a child whose powers were so destructive that the government had to seal him away after the original explosion, which raises a very important question. If the last psychic child destroyed Tokyo, why are we doing this again? But Akira answers that too. Because institutions don't learn, they repeat. The final act is pure chaos. Neo Tokyo collapses under riots, believing that Tetsuo is actually Akira, the person who was prophesied to come and bring about a great change in the way Neo Tokyo is currently being run. And he did make a great change, just not in the way they were hoping. There are military crackdowns, psychic warfare, and destruction on an insane level. Tetsuo tries to find Akira, but all that remains of him are his organs. And in this moment, Tetsuo feels like the most powerful person on the planet. He feels like a god. Kaneda tries to stop Tetsuo, and honestly, I have no clue what this guy was thinking, because how dumb do you have to be to try and fight against a friend who can fly, teleport, and move things with his mind? It just ain't worth it. At that point, just hop on your sick-ass motorcycle and ride out of town. Instead of a clean resolution to this mess caused by the government, we get something better, and much more terrifying. Akira is awakened. Yep, the real Akira. With that, he completely consumes Tetsuo and leaves behind another gigantic explosion, which is a bit more controlled, so that only Tetsuo and the other psychic children are taken away. This is a reminder that some forces can't be controlled, only survived. And this movie ends not with hope, but with continuation. A new beginning built on the ruins of the old. Which brings us back to why Akira still feels so close. Because it's not about the psychic kids or explosions, although it kinda is. It's about what happens when systems fail, trauma is ignored, and power is handed to people who were never prepared for it. And that's not a future problem, that's a right now problem. Time and time again, history has a way of teaching us certain lessons, and Akira is another cautionary tale about the dangers of scientific discoveries going too far, and the consequences of that. Much like Frankenstein, scientists put morals to the side in pursuit of a new discovery that might change the world's perspective on life, but similarly, it leads to their own demise. Every damn time. In Akira, it was Dr. Onishi's fault that Tetsuo's powers grew out of control, and it was the commander's fault for allowing Dr. Onishi to even continue his work after the last incident. Bro should have been fired immediately. We see today, with the rise of AI and automation, progress being made so fast that humans can't actually keep up, and is slowly starting to consume us. First mentally, with all the media consumption, and then physically, by replacing us entirely from our jobs, our communities, our homes, until we're eventually just shells of our former selves, fighting wars for no real reason, paying taxes that we can't afford, and all without a single hope of a better life. Hope is a very interesting concept though, because Akira portrays the ending as a new beginning rather than a sad conclusion. With Neo Tokyo in literal ruins, it's up to the next generation to rebuild it in a way they see fit. The last line is, so by the end of Akira, Tetsuo undergoes a total metamorphosis. Not into a monster, but into something finally honest. For the first time, he stops fighting what he is. He isn't the government's experiment, subject number 41. He isn't the weak kid living in Kaneda's shadow. He isn't the resentment, the fear, or the trauma that defined him. He is simply Tetsuo. And that moment of recognition matters, because up until then, every tragedy in Akira comes from denial. Institutions denying responsibility, scientists denying limits, and Tetsuo denying himself. That destruction only stops when that denial ends. Instead of trying to control his power or being crushed by it, Tetsuo accepts it, and in doing so he transcends. That's why the ending of Akira isn't nihilistic, it's quietly hopeful. And right now, we're stuck in the earlier stages of Akira. We're chasing that power that we want, without any reflection. We need to quickly stop and ask ourselves why. What do we actually want from this life? Is what I'm gonna do help others? Or more importantly, will it even help yourself? The danger isn't that AI will replace us, it's that we'll slowly grow more complacent and dependent on things that were never even accessible to those who came before us. In other words, we're gonna become weak sacks of shit, just gaming and gooning all day. Even worse still is we become experiments inside systems we no longer recognize, valued only by output, engagement, or efficiency. Tetsuo shows us another path. His final act isn't domination or destruction, it's self-definition. He doesn't let the system decide who he is. Instead, he claims that identity for himself. And that's the real warning and promise of AKIRA. The future doesn't need us to be more powerful, it just needs us to be more self-aware. If humanity can do what Tetsuo finally does, which is acknowledging our limits, accepting the responsibility for what we've created, and choosing meaning over control, then the future doesn't have to end in a huge collapse with everything getting destroyed. It can be something new that we look forward to leaving behind for our current generations to live through. And maybe that's why AKIRA, even after 40 years, doesn't feel like a total nightmare. It feels like a choice. So the choice is yours. What are you gonna do? I want to thank you all for watching this video, and I was wondering whether or not you guys like this new type of video format. Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments and subscribe and like if you want more posts. And that's all.